everyone, welcome to another great adventure over here on our JB Wildlife. On this adventure, we are here at the safari park where I'm going to be giving you the state of the park update. So if you're ready for another great adventure, let's go. The first thing I want to mention in this update is we are in the month of October, which is Kids Free October. And during this month, you will be able to bring in up to 6 kids 11 and under for free with 1 adult admission. So I highly recommend taking advantage of this opportunity to be able to visit both the San Diego Zoo and the Safari Park, especially since there are holiday events going on during this time of year. So definitely be sure to take advantage of that. We are going to be checking out that a little bit later today, but there is a lot of stuff that we have to cover here at the Safari Park. So let's get into the park. So now that we're in the park, I want to start over in Safari Base Camp with a couple minor things. First and foremost is going to be the Wings of the World aviary did receive some new signage indicating that it is that aviary. And it looks really nice. This is an aviary that has a lot of birds from around the world, so it is pretty interesting. And the long-awaited bar, Max's Hideout, has officially opened. We did cover this, I want to say a couple months ago on an Elephant Valley update, but it is super cool to have that space now. I now want to transition into Nairobi Village. Now, there isn't a ton to talk about here. They did move the Angolan python over one habitat in what has been a continuous habitat, musical chairs over there, and the one that it was residing in is now empty. Hopefully something new pops up in there. And in an exciting turn of events, they have actually put in place some patio furniture on the little wedding patio next to the Pelican area of Mombasa Lagoon. This is a nice little change considering this was just a concrete slab. So if you want to just relax, hear some water sounds, and sit on some patio furniture with some chaotic pelicans around you, feel free. We are now entering Gorilla Forest, and on this occasion I want to just check in with Paul, Dunn, and Jessica, who have recently been integrated in with the rest of the troop. We have chronicled this a few times here on the channel to this point, as this was a major deal for this park. So from what it appears, they have integrated pretty well into the situation. I will say Paul Don has indeed attracted a stalker in the form of Joanne. She just will not leave him alone and is intent on breeding activity, which is really good for the species. And the hope is in the future that Leslie will eventually mature and become a breeding female as well with Paul Don. I will also confirm that Imani has also been the subject of breeding activity with Paul Don. So 3 of the females that he could potentially breed with in here have all shown potential interest, just one of them's not quite of age yet. So really positive stuff going on here in Gorilla Forest. We are now in Tiger Trail, which is the best spot here at the Safari Park, at least for now. But the update here is that Barong just turned 1 year old, and as a result of that, he has graduated to Yard C, which is the biggest tiger yard here at the Safari Park. With this, though, comes the sad reality that he's getting older. He's going to have to eventually be separated from his mother, and we no longer have the cub days here at the Safari Park. Now, Barong loves the water more so than some of the other tigers here. And when I did see him in Yard C, he was just playing around in the water, having a good time, pestering Mom. So he's overall enjoying life right now, and Mom is enjoying some peace and quiet as he grows older and becomes a little more independent. So it's a good thing for both individuals. We are now in Walkabout Australia, and there's a couple things I want to point out, some of which we've already covered on this channel. The 3 joeys that are out in the Walkabout, you can actually go out and check them out. They are thriving from the looks of things, and one of which is out and about running around, or I should say hopping around out of the pouch. Luckily, if you want to get a really good view of the joeys, you can actually walk into the kangaroo walkabout, and most of the time they're off hiding by their barn, but I will say towards the beginning of the day and the later portions of the day, they should be out and about a little bit more. These animals are going to be crepuscular, so they're going to spend a lot of the morning and evening hours foraging and eating. So at that moment in time is probably the best time to see the joeys. And that brings me to another very important note here in Walkabout Australia. With the park open later on the weekends, you are actually able to get a glimpse of the platypus with the lights on. Now, I know a lot of people aren't so fond of the nocturnal setting, but it is a stipulation in order to have these animals here, with the habitat being on Australia time. So when the park is open later, or like we saw in the summer, open earlier, you are actually able to get the view with lights on, which is much easier. Albeit in past experience, the lights have been fluctuating and turning on at either like 6 or 6:30. So with the park closing at 7, just do keep that in mind. You do have a small window of opportunity to see it. And at least the male will be active. The female tends to go inside periodically, but even with the lights on, you should be able to see at least one of the 2 platypus here. We are now over here in Condor Ridge, and there hasn't been a ton of stuff going on since the recent renovations. However, a new condor has emerged in the condor aviary, and we did lose one. One thing has changed in this area, however, as there is now a new sign for metallic starlings in the gray-winged trumpeter habitat. And there was a minor development in the condor aviary, as Osach, who was one of the main females here, was actually moved to another facility on a breeding recommendation, and in her place, a female from the current facility that houses all of the rehabilitated condors has been moved into the habitat. Her name is Ojai. Her tag is going to be white with a number 37 on it. The main condor breeding facility is up at the top of the hill behind this habitat, and this space really serves just as a place for condors that can't actually be released into the wild. And some of that has to do with human interference, as in order to maintain the population and save some of these individuals so that the species doesn't go extinct, the care staff may have had to intervene in order to save the individual's life so that it didn't die upon birth or at a very young age. So that is the story of the condors you see on display in Condor Ridge, but do keep in mind there is a whole nother facility up at the top of the hill that has a whole bunch of condors that are for potential release into the many release sites across the southwestern United States. I now want to move on to the Savanna portion of this update, and yes, indeed, they did change the name of these mass expanse spaces again. It did start out as the African Plains and Asian Fields areas, and now it's just the Savanna entirely. And the first part of this I'd like to cover is the Asian Fields part of the Savanna. Recently in Asia, there was confirmation that a few of the Przewalski's horses were indeed expecting, and in fact, one of them has given birth recently. It is unknown what the sex is of this individual. What I can tell you is, if indeed there are multiple foals in this, they all might have been sired by Kurt, who, for those of you that don't know, is the cloned Przewalski's horse here that represents a 13th genetic line to further the conservation of this species. The tricky thing with viewing the Przewalski's horses is there is only one good vantage point that doesn't require an extra cost. So from the vantage point as you exit Tiger Trail into the rest of the African experience, that is going to be the best place to see them. However, it is never guaranteed. You do just get one sight line of a portion of their hill. But that's going to be it in Asia. I want to now move on to Africa, more specifically the East Africa yard, which is the single yard you kind of get closest to. There is one new wildebeest calf in that yard, which is the 4th one to add to the other 3 in Central Africa on the Africa Tram. And I have received news that there are 3 expecting reticulated giraffes in the East Africa yard. This would make 6 total giraffes born at both here and at the safari park, the other 3 which being the Maasai giraffe calves. These would be a different species. These would be the reticulateds. And in a little bit of a more unfortunate note, there has been a downsizing of the southern white rhino population here at the safari park. That is all due to the St. Louis Zoo Wild Care Park receiving 4 females here, 2 of which came out of the East Africa yard and 2 others from the Rhino Rescue Center. With this, the male Botswana, who was in East Africa, has since been moved over to the Rhino Rescue Center in the hopes that he'll be more successful in breeding the females there. Now, I do want to point out, this does not in any way end the Northern White Rhino Revival Project, so do keep that in mind. There is still a healthy population of white rhinos in the rescue center and about 6 individuals left in East Africa. So fear not, the white rhinos, who are the icon of this park, never going away, but we are going to be seeing less of them here in the near future. That now brings me to the Africa Tram that we just got off, and I can say there are multiple babies out there. In fact, 4 species on the tram ride have offspring that you have to be on the lookout for. The first of which I'm going to bring up is a little more on the unnoteworthy side. That is going to be the waterbuck, the Ellipsan waterbuck to be more specific. There are 2 calves in there, so be on the lookout for them. Another one is actually going to be the smallest resident in that yard, and that is going to be the springbok. There is 1 calf running around, and it is a bit bold, so you should be able to see it roaming around with the adults. And on the more hidden side of things, there are 2 sable antelope calves that are out there. However, I've only ever been able to see 1, and they are very well hidden during the day. So the best bet is going to be seeing them in the golden hour portion, with the park being open late. And there was a 3rd bongo calf also born out there, and I got a lot of luck seeing him the other day. So definitely be on the lookout there. They are going to be very rare to see, so if you do get a glimpse, that is extremely lucky. And another very important note in regards to this tram trip is it appears they have put Nubian ibex in this little habitat space in between the South Africa and Central Africa yards. Now, this space used to house the greater kudu that are now in African woods, and it just kind of serves as an extra little habitat space. This is also a very hard place to get footage of these animals. It's not exactly a spot that the tram stops at, so you kind of just have to have this continuous footage, but this is some of the best I could get of the ibex. There's nothing really new going on in lion camp. A couple little things I want to point out though. Bo is becoming a lot more comfortable on habitat, so you'll start to see him a little more regularly, and the girls are just doing the normal thing. However, they do really love that new perch. So that new renovation in June was really a hit for the lions here. The integration between Bo and the females is still ongoing with no finish line in sight. So hopefully in the future this becomes a possibility, but as of right now, and for the foreseeable future, they are going to remain separated. We are now over here in African Outpost, and there's only really one thing I want to touch up on here, and that is with the newest residents to this area, the lowland Nyala. And something really exciting going on here in this habitat is there was 1 calf born fairly recently, I want to say about a month or so ago, and recently a 2nd calf was born. So we do have 2 calves in here and are still awaiting the arrival of the male, who is still in that other habitat. I do also want to mention that this is considered a pretty sensitive species here at the park, so you'll see some of these like privacy barriers, like the one right here behind me. This is just to kind of give the animals some privacy and overall secureness in their sensitivities. So just be wary of that. Keep your voices down in this area, especially with the calves. We are now over here in African Woods, where there's a couple developments. I do know there was a greater kudu calf born, and the final Garanut calf was also born. However, they are not viewable because both habitats are currently undergoing maintenance. And from what it appears, this is just barrier maintenance, so they're just replacing all of the chain link fencing surrounding some of these older habitats. And in fact, at least for the Garanut, it appears that this project has been completed because they are now back on habitat after a couple weeks absence. I will also mention that the pair of capybaras that have been kind of being moved around different habitats here at this facility have taken up residence in African Woods in between the Garanuts and okapis. The best location for them right now in time is going to be the petting corral once they eventually start working on that, but as of right now, they will be here in African Woods. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not inform you guys of the event going on here at the safari park, which is Autumn Festival. This event includes a flurry of entertainment, including some not-so-scary scarecrows running around, musical performances, amazing food, and a lantern show on Mombasa Lagoon. And as a little added perk to this event, the park is open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday throughout the month of October. So if you're visiting the safari park in the month of October, be sure to check it out on the weekends because you will be able to have an extended stay during the limited time event that is Autumn Festival. That's going to do it for today. If you had fun on this journey, please hit the like button. And if you would like to embark on future adventures, please consider subscribing and ringing that notification bell. And until next time, I hope to see you all again on the next adventure on RJB Wildlife.